Today, I want to share the background of an application that I've recently developed, which is for portfolio analysis. So, I want to explain why this application was developed. And then in the next part, we will actually go and take a look at the application. So, the first issue is why have this application? Well, the reason for creating this application is three things. One, typically when you're dealing with a project portfolio, you have to deal with multiple types of data. So it can either be Excel sheets, it can be Microsoft project files or Primavera files or files from some other tool that you're using. It takes time to bring all this data together and to make sure that you can put it in a format that you can analyze. And then because of that delay, you have a delayed insight, which means you can't take decisions when they're needed. Project failure rates continue to be high. 70% projects still exceeding their original budget or timeline. And one of the reasons for this is the visibility of projects. If you don't have visibility, you don't have control. And in a large portfolio with dozens or hundreds of projects, it's very difficult to pinpoint the ones that need attention. So there are existing options that are available for portfolio management. The simple ones are dashboards that can be created in a tool like BI, but that takes a lot of data wrangling to get done. There's manual analysis. Somebody might have Excel sheets that they've developed. And then there are enterprise solutions, which are fully featured. But the problem there is that these are expensive to deploy and expensive to maintain. So the vision for this application was to create something that can process the data real time. It can accept all types of different data and then produce predictive insights using a unified dashboard. The issue is that to really get a realistic idea of a project, you need to use earned value management, which is the gold standard in the industry. The earned value management technique requires a number of variables. There's the budget, there's a start date, there's a duration, and the data date and actual cost. So most projects would have this information. They know how much money they've spent. What is usually missing is two very critical variables. One is the planned value, and the other one is the earned value. Planned value actually is the projected cash flow for your project, and this comes from a cost loaded schedule. So you need to have a schedule for that to happen. The other thing that's missing is earned value, and to get earned value, you need to know percentage complete of the activities and then use that to calculate the budgeted value of work completed. Now, these are two things that are usually missing. Even when people are using schedules, they're not using cost based schedule, they're using time only schedules. So that doesn't help either. So that's the problem. The barrier is there. It's a technical challenge to get this done. It requires you to plan in a much more elaborate, detailed way. So that is one issue. It requires you to track your resources quite intensively and then also make sure that you are collecting the right kind of data using the percentage complete for every task. If you have software and you have planned value, perfect, you can use it. But what if you don't have the resource loaded schedule? What you can then do is you can do an estimation. There are various ways of estimating planned value. Remember, planned value is simply the cash flow from the start of the project to the end of the project. So this is how much money you should have spent at different times. Now, there are curves available. Typically, a project will follow one of these curves. This either S curve, or it can follow backloaded curve or a front loaded curve or even a linear curve. So it can assume one of these curves. And the idea is to know what type of curve a particular project will follow and then use that curve to estimate the planned value at different times. So that gives us one estimate. The other estimate is for the earned value. Now, when we use actual cost for estimating progress, we are assuming that if we spend $1,000, we will get $1,000 worth of work completed. in reality, that might not be the case, either because there's an estimation error or because they've been changed in the price of the resources or we haven't added overheads. And also inflation, because $1,000 today will not get you the same amount of work done a year from now. So especially on large projects, you have to discount them for the inflation rate, for the overheads, and for some estimation errors. So that's the second part of this technique, that we use an estimation rate, which will discount the value of the work as time progresses, which is what physically is happening. So now that we have these two variables as estimates, we can then put all of this together. Now we have projects where we have the earned value and the planned value, but we also have projects now which only had actual cost, and we've used our estimation technique to figure out the earned value and the planned value. We use this to do the EV analysis, and we turn that into actionable insight. So that is the idea of this program. Now I'm going to, in the next video, show you how the program works. It's currently in beta stage, and you can request as a beta tester to use this program. Thank you.